Welcome to Conspiracy Playtime Podcast.
Some people actually believe that the world is run by shape-shifting alien reptiles.
No fucking way.
I think just the whole podcast is rated R.
Will there be titty?
What the fuck is a conspiracy theory?
When two separate events occur simultaneously pertaining to the same object of inquiry, we must always pay strict attention.
The only Jewish conspiracy there is that I'm circumcised.
And there's this guy from the CIA and he's creeping around Laurel Canyon.
So anyone at any given time could be infected, don't even know it, and feel perfectly well. That's really the nature of science.
Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
We need to get the fuck out of here!
Fixing that testing regime, we need to have that in place before we move to that next phase.
I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I strongly believe that. I do.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
The FBI killed Martin Luther King.
It's fucking making sense to me now.
How many vaccines have you had? Have you been a good little Nazi? Hail Fauci! Hail Fauci!
If our own government was responsible for the deaths of almost 100,000 people, would you really want to know?
Yeah.
Roll up your sleeves, take your shot, wear your mask, and please stay safe out there.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Deplorable Nation. I'm your host, Deplorable Janet, and today I have a beautiful, fabulously talented, lovely guest, Mr. Colby from Conspiracy Playtime. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the compliments there.
You are so very welcome. So for guests who do not know you yet, they will love you just as I do. But introduce yourself and what other podcasts that you do.
My name is Colby. I have two podcasts. One of them, Janet already mentioned, Conspiracy Playtime. That one's been going on strong. Coming up a year and a half-ish. And
nice.
The other one is with somebody who's been on Janet's podcast before, named Dusty, and that one is called Disinfobation, and that's like masturbating with disinformation. And we found that, the two of us together, we kind of just push each other to boundaries we didn't know could go that far out. And so that one's been going on since last April, and plan to be doing that one as long as Dusty and I can.
So is that the story of how you got the name?
Well, the story is Dusty wanted to call it Two Jerks in a Podcast. And when
I
he
love
said
Dusty.
When he said jerk, I just automatically thought of masturbation. So at the time, that really big what was that shit show going on? That broad that was like the Ministry of Truth, and she was a karaoke.
Oh yeah.
So they were talking about doing the Ministry of Disinformation, and
yeah.
And so we just masturbation and disinformation together. It just was meant to be. And we went on.
Perfect.
Matt's podcast, the one he does with Ryan, and we got a chuckle out of both of our titles were double entendres for jerking off.
Well, you're very at home here on this podcast.
Well, Janet, you're the one that taught me that you can be as grody as you want and still be really smart and make good points. And
right?
Yeah, so I have you to thank for that.
And I think, we have to be able to laugh at ourselves and have self-deprecating humor. And I have very dark sense of humor anyway. And so I don't feel the need to censor myself. And if that turns people off, fabulous, because you weren't meant to be in my circle anyway. Just saying.
I mean, when you're offended by something, you should just take a pause and ask yourself, what is it about me that gets this visceral reaction about that topic? And you might find some shit out about yourself. So I love being offended. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I'm like, whoa.
It is so hard to offend me. We have a guest staying with us right now, and he's always tiptoeing around stuff. And I'm like, you seriously can say whatever you want, because I am the least offendable person that you will probably ever meet.
Is this an old friend of your husband's or something?
Actually, it is a fellow podcaster.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that has relocated to Tennessee, so he is staying with us right now, which has been fun.
Well, hey, I'm thinking about doing that same thing. I've
there
been
you
looking
go.
at Eastern Tennessee.
I love East Tennessee.
I don't know where you are exactly, but I was looking at these little towns just Friday, so a couple days ago.
Yes.
I've been looking at little areas over there, and that to me, because I love mountains.
It is so beautiful there, but there's so many little towns are amazing, but the big touristy areas completely stay away from, because they are so it's like traveling to Branson, if you've ever been there.
I was looking at it. I haven't been there.
Oh my God. In the height of touristy season, what is literally 5 minutes away from you could take you 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just
and
foot traffic or?
Yes. Bumper to bumper. On a very small, highway or whatever, but kind of in the congestion of LA traffic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a cluster. So we live not in East Tennessee, but we live out in the country, which I love so much, because there's always deer and beavers and eagles and all kinds of stuff in
all
my
your
yard.
Friends.
Yeah. So I sit outside and I talk to all of them, and yeah. My husband calls me Snow White, but I love it. We went to
talent.
Yeah, we went to an Amish farm and market yesterday, and of course they had a bunch of animals, and so they're starving and ready to eat, and I am outside literally petting and talking to all the animals.
Do you eat meat?
I do.
Nice.
Yes, I do. I love the carnivore world. Yes, I do. I'm not built for plant-based. No. My body does not like that whatsoever.
I don't think anybody's body likes it, but people can talk themselves into it.
Yeah, no, I tried that for a while, but it made me feel like absolute garbage on a stick. So, I threw that out the window pretty quick.
My co-host on Conspiracy Playtime, Jeremiah, he's a vegan, and he's been doing it for a decade probably, and he's the only guy I know who's healthy, can pull it off, but he just has to constantly eat all the time, and I think that's how you do it. I mean, he'll eat a salad. To him is like a bowl that you would put on the table at a family dinner, and that's what he has to do to keep going.
Give me that 12-pound salad right there. Yeah, I can't eat lunch. Yeah, I can't eat that much salad. I love salad, and I love making really unusual things in salad, but salad shoots right back out the other end quickly.
You got to have some meat in there to catch it.
Exactly. A meat net. I'm going to put a meat net on my butthole.
Yep. I think we just figured something out.
Anybody listening that's an entrepreneur that wants to get on that, get on that.
You don't even have to give us credit for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Please don't put my name on that.
And if you
I'll
do
just
put
give you the
conspiracy
idea.
playtime on it, I will take a cut.
So, for the listeners who do not know, what do you do? I really want to talk to you about this because I love it. Yes.
I make soap, which I forgot we did brush on that when you were on my
Mhm.
show. That's right.
So, what got you into that?
A short answer would be Craigslist. I just moved to.
It wasn't picking up a bar of soap, was it?
No. If you pick up a bar of soap after reading a Craigslist ad, you might be in the what is it, misconnection section or
Wait, do you remember that internet sensation video that was going around for a while? No, don't touch me there. That is my no square.
I don't know if I saw that.
What? No. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was like a fabulously famous clip there for a while. It came out like when the old trials or the approvals for the judges was going on. And
so it's pretty recent then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah. So
I need to get on Instagram so you and Davey could send me that shit.
Right? Oh my God. Davey has the best stuff. I can literally be having like one of those days where like my energy went in the pooper because, excuse me, onion burps. Talking, through problems with a bunch of people and whatnot. And so like my energy will be a little drained and then he will just send me one reel after another. Like he knew I needed something and he always sends something to me that I have to watch multiple times and it makes me laugh so hard that I'm bawling by the time I'm done.
Yeah, I do want to comment on that before we get back to the soap story because Davey is, I think, put here for that purpose.
Oh, he is amazing.
He even knows that, he just smiles at everybody all day long and he's
Yeah.
just a beacon of light. And I, was on his podcast last summer, but I couldn't see his face. And then when we had him on Disinfobation, he's just ear to ear.
I know.
And his laugh is just so contagious. But yeah,
he is the funnest person. And it's like, it is infectious. Like his energy is infectious. And if you guys don't know who we're talking about, Davey from Red Pill Cartel, funny dude. And his show is so much fun to do. I had him and Nico on mine together. And oh my word, it was the most hilarious show. And my sides hurt from laughing after we were done.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah,
I don't know if I missed it or not.
It was a long time ago, but oh my God, it was so freaking funny. And I'm like, I seriously am going to have to wear a diaper if I have the two of them on together again, because it was one of those, I'm old, can't control my bladder all the time when I laugh. And I'm like, you guys are like dangerous for me, or I'm going to sit on a bucket. I don't know.
Yeah, I may have heard it if it was a while ago and I just didn't know who he was yet. On Twitter, when I first joined Twitter last year, I saw his logo, the goat, Nigel.
Yeah.
And so I followed him. And as soon as I followed him, he followed me back. He's like, hey, man, you want to come on my podcast? I was like, okay.
He's such a great dude. Yeah. As soon as he started his, I was like, you have to come on my show. And then like him and Nico are good friends and they've done a lot of stuff together. And I'm like, we'll have you both at the same time. Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. Side splitting fun having both of them at the same time was fabulous. Yeah. So shout out Davey. We love you.
Hi, Davey.
Oh. So anyways, you were not picking up a bar of soap, but you were checking out Craigslist.
Yeah, so Southern Oregon kind of called to me when I was living in Eugene, Oregon, which is kind of a weird
yeah, we almost moved
esoteric
there
shithole.
for my husband's job. It's only been, maybe it was like 2018, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I was living there in the time that Obama and Hillary were primarying against each other. I guess that would have been like
Mhm.
07 maybe
Yeah.
or 06. But I came down to Ashland, Oregon, and decided to move here. I was like, oh, this is what I thought Eugene would be like. Funny enough, the first time I walked in there to apply for the job, I did pick up a bar of soap and said, I was buying this in bulk in Eugene, Oregon a few years back. And they're like, I said, this is you, right? And they said, well, we're the only people that have round bars of soap like that. And I ended up getting the job. It was the thing that kept me in Southern Oregon, and that was 12 years ago. So I started making all of it. He asked me to start making it within 3 months. It was just kind of, I was cutting the soap, which that's like a part-time gig you would usually give to a college kid or whatever. And I needed something more to stay here. And he offered me the position, and he kind of just stepped back. It's owned by a husband and a wife. And it's a company that's been around since 1972.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So is this like a natural thing, or?
Yeah, to get back to veganism, it's an animal-free product. So we use vegetable oils and then just mix lye. And by the time the soap's almost done mixing, I'll throw in the essential oils, and that's about it. It's pretty basic, cold pressed.
So do you like mix in color and all that?
Yeah.
stuff
So
too?
if since you're a soap maker, it's something that happens before you saponify it, and I'll mix in some minerals. It's all a real natural process. Yeah.
So since you're working with lye, do you have to wear a lot of like gear, or have vented very heavily vented rooms?
I mean, I'm supposed to always be very protected. I mean, I always have on eyewear, but I'll like mix it without putting gloves on if you're not splashing it around everywhere. And if I'm very, I saw that I got some on me, you have a few moments to get it off with water.
A few seconds before
you could always, we have this solution that you dump on yourself, like in Fight Club when they're giving each other the kiss scar. So
you're not mixing this shit in a bathtub then? Right.
No, and that's how it started, though. The guy that started this company actually was a little Tyler Durden type operation. And so I guess he was a character. I've been told that they would just show up at work and he would be in there in his underwear mixing soap together, like at odd hours.
I guess that's a good thing, so you don't get the stuff on your clothes. But
yeah. Just get it on your epidermis.
Exactly. Just put it directly on your skin and see how that goes.
But yeah, I mean, I'm very careful with it. And we do have a hooded vent that I always have on when I'm mixing the caustic. So
yeah, and that's one thing, because we talked about it a little bit on your show. I make soap, but I don't use lye at all. And so for people who don't know, who are interested in making soap at home, make sure you have the proper safety stuff if you're going to use lye products in your kitchen.
Yeah, and I was a psychedelic aficionado in my early to mid 20s, so I had already kind of had experience of mixing. Like, I was doing some hardcore shit with that stuff back then. So when I got on, I told my boss, I was like, he seems like a cool guy. He's like, oh, I used to synthesize psilocybin when I was in college.
There you go.
He's a chemistry major. I've seen Fight Club. That was the extent of my experience. He actually went to college for this stuff and got on there as a maintenance guy. And then he kind of just hooked up with a chick that was working there as well. And they ended up marrying and buying the company right before I started working there.
Well, there you go. So they were newer to the business then, huh?
Well, they had been on the management end for several years. And I think that the guy and his wife that owned it, they were kind of just vetting them to eventually just take it over. I don't know if they did an owner carry or anything like that, but it's they've owned it now for about 13 years.
That's so cool.
Second set of owners.
Yeah.
I'll let you know what it is after we get off here. I'll send you the link, because the only reason I'm not open about it is because they don't know that I podcast. And if they
Yeah.
heard somebody be like, hey, I heard your name on a podcast, they would listen and be like, holy shit, this guy's fucking crazy that's working for us.
They're like,
I mean, well, they know that I am, but after COVID, they turned into like really, I don't want to be derogatory, but they were ultra Karen.
yeah.
I wasn't. They wanted me to do the thing.
Mhm.
And I said no. They were okay with
Mhm.
it, but they were just kind of like, hey, we would appreciate it if everybody here was. And
Yeah.
so I talk
Karen
about
and
that on my
Mr.
podcast.
Karen and Mr. Karen, I don't need your jib jab. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and they were fine with it. They just kind of thought they were doing the right thing. I think hopefully by now they realize that it's not that big of a deal.
One can hope and pray for others. That's all we can do. So, tell people, like, what is Conspiracy Playtime about and why did you start it?
So the idea is there is a lot of stuff that has happened in the past that if you unravel it, you can find out what's happening now and what's going to happen. And there was already that style of podcast out there, but we came together, my co-host and I, during COVID, and he was not a conspiracy theorist yet. I mean, he kind of knew 9/11. Exactly. He knew 9/11 and he knew the basics, but he thought chemtrails were a joke. I remember I told him about chemtrails once and his eyes just got real big.
Oh shit. We should have brought him to my house today. Holy crap.
Oh, did you get dumped on pretty good?
I got it. Yeah. Remind me in a minute and I'll tell you something I discovered about chemtrails today.
Ooh, I will not forget to remind you. I'm fascinated by that stuff. So he was the guy who'd shown me podcasts when we had worked together years prior. So COVID happened and a bunch of people freaked out and quit. And he actually reached out to me to say, hey, have you seen this episode of such and such podcast? I said, no, I'll check it out. By the way, what are you up to? Are you busy? He has an online business where he does like small business website modification and search optimization and all that shit that I don't know what it means. I just hear him say those big words. But
sounds like somebody I could use, even though, I don't know what questions to ask.
He could just take a look at your website and be like, this is what you need to do. So anyway, he started kind of opening his eyes up during, he came and he worked with me and we kept each other sane because everybody's losing their goddamn minds around us. And we saw eye to eye on everything. And we would be having these conversations at work. And then a day later, somebody would be talking about it on a podcast. And he's just like very competitive nature. So he said, we should do this because we're talking about this same stuff. If they just had us mic'd up right now, we could do it just as good as they're doing it.
Right.
And the idea at first was I was the crazy conspiracy theorist. He was the skeptic. And it took us about 6 months to get everything off the ground from conception to actually doing it. And by the time those 6 months passed, he was balls deep into conspiracy, even more than me on some, like he's a gematria guy. And I mean, his brain works on systems. And so once he applied that aspect to conspiracy theories, he believed everything. And now it's like, sometimes I'm the skeptic with the shit he's saying. So when we first,
you can learn a lot from a dummy. No, I'm kidding.
I'm
not calling you a dummy.
The thing is the way my mind works is the way his mind doesn't work and vice versa. So you put the two of us together and then we tackle these topics. Like the idea of the show is now he'll do a deep dive and present it to me and we'll record it. And then the audience will have the firsthand knowledge that I'm getting from him.
Right.
Or vice versa. And then he got really busy with life. His dad came down with dementia. He had to have the guy move in with him. And he and his wife or his fiance are pregnant. And they just, but he's really wanting to be a part of it. But when he can't be, that's why I started interviewing people. So that's the show kind of took that turn. But we're still going to do both.
Right. He's just got a lot on his plate right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting a whole new life, bought a house. I assume he's getting married. I don't know if he wants a bastard child since he's one, but
well, you never know. I mean, you got to watch out for those bastard kids.
Yeah, they've been together for 10 years, so I'd say they're married as far as like, state of mind
They're
goes.
common law married. Yep.
Yeah.
So is he like more of an analytical mind?
Very much so, yeah.
Like he has to know the why behind everything.
Yeah, that's
Kind
why I
of
balance him
person.
out, because
Yeah.
I don't care about that part.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that's a perfect analogy for like my marriage, because my husband is very much analytical and stuff, and I'm very much like the more creative, thinker in a different direction, because like I don't care about like numbers and statistics and
Yeah, that shit's boring.
Yeah.
Plus they can fudge the numbers whenever they want.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a little ditty about me that people probably don't know. I went to school and got a business degree first, and I hated it so freaking bad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not an accountant. I hate accounting. I hate, inventory numbers and shit. I'm like, this is going to make me die fast because I cannot stand this. It's so boring to me.
Yeah, my mind goes to sleep as well when you put marketing or business or statistician shit in front of my face. It's just like, okay, see ya.
Yes. And I'm just like, oh my God. God love my husband. Like he loves stuff like that. Like he loves math and numbers and, doing, what are they called? I don't know, but all the analytics, data analytics and all that stuff. I hate that stuff. I would be so freaking bored. Yeah.
So you guys are different in those ways, but then when it comes to the other stuff,
everything.
I've heard you on several podcasts describe your marriage, and it's like, I'm alone right now, but if I ever meet someone as fucked up as me, I have to marry her.
Oh, 100%. And that's why, like, we have the same, like, dark sense of humor and whatnot. And so we will be talking about something and like neither one of us can hear really good. So he'll think I said something and we'll have this whole conversation about jibber jabber, whatever I thought he said. It's like people around us going, what the hell are they talking about? I love it. It's fun. Yeah. It's always entertaining at our house. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We make each other laugh, which is a good thing. So, what or when, I guess, have you always been awake, or did something happen to like shake you awake, or like how did that work?
For the most part, I think I always kind of had it. I was a little kid who was scared of everything, and it was the unknown. That big unknown, just hiding around every corner. I had an active imagination. I would lay in bed, just sleepless as like a 5-year-old. And so my mom didn't really know what to do with me. She'd be like, don't watch America's Most Wanted. Don't watch X-Files.
I love that. I love that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did too. I loved it, but it also rattled me to my core. I was always into ghosts and aliens. I had a ghost experience as a little kid that I don't really remember, but my mom, although was like, don't watch X-Files because you're going to be waking me up at 5 a.m. because you can't sleep. But at the same time, she was like, she let me have.
But let me tell you what happened to you.
Yeah.
They probed your rectum while you were sleeping. No,
yeah. No, seriously. I mean,
it really happened.
I've had like some crazy ass sleep paralysis shit from
I was
a little kid
ask
till
you
now.
that. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I need to know about this because I know that you guys will cover like metaphysical stuff and things like that. So tell me about all of that stuff because I it's fascinating to me because the amount of people in the podcast community that have had either sleep paralysis or paranormal experiences or whatever is huge.
I think it kind of helps drive you to that kind of thinking, because you understand you're going through something that most people only ever hear about if they're in passing with someone who, I mean, it's getting more mainstream, but as a little kid, I was afraid to go to sleep. I was afraid of death. I was afraid of my mom getting cancer. I was afraid of nuclear war. Anything that was bad would seep into my head, and I would just make it worse. To just fast forward, when I was in my early 20s, I ate mushrooms, and I had an ego death. I had the most hellacious experience of my entire life for that first hour. And then when I understood and came through it, I haven't been scared of death or anything ever since.
So tell me, I need to know about that too, because everybody that I've talked to that has done psychedelics or anything like that, everybody has such different experiences. I've never done it because I'm pretty trippy on my own, and I already know who I am 100%.
I don't think someone like you needs it.
No.
So I ate mushrooms with my mom one time when I was like in my
With your
later
mom?
Yeah, she had never eaten it before. I got her smoking pot when I was 22, and she
Dude, no way.
Yeah, so she got here the night that you and I did, and her and my brother stayed for 3 fucking weeks. They didn't have any jobs lined up until like the beginning of February or something, and they both were just like, "Can we keep staying?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I never get to see you two."
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's kind of why it took me a while to get our episode out, and just I was podcasting the entire time they were here because I had shit lined up. But anyway, she ate mushrooms and she hates the cold. It was the middle of October, and she's standing chest deep in a creek, and she's like, "I don't feel anything." I was like, well, you're tripping because you're waist deep in the creek. But at the same time, someone like you probably won't really need that. But for me, I needed to kill the fear that was plaguing my life. And psychedelics did that for me. And I really went off on them for a good couple of years. And then it was just like Alan Watts has a great quote. Once you get the message, hang up the phone.
Right.
They're not drugs to abuse at all. I mean, it's kind of hard to abuse them. Some people do pull it off. But for me, it's like as soon as I smoked DMT and ate mushrooms, everything that I ever was scared of just kind of faded away because it showed me that this is a temporary experience in an infinite existence. And I'd always kind of hoped that was the case. I tried to grasp onto religion as a little kid. And I do think that the mythology behind Christianity that is taken literally kind of scares a lot of people away from it. But I do believe in Christ consciousness. I think every religion has a similar message, the good ones. And that was it for me, was the fear of death for me or other loved ones, or just despair. And I also, as a kid, kind of thought that I had been here before. I would tell my mom when I was young, like, yeah, this is, I think about the 17th time I've lived this life. And I don't know why it was that number.
Did you remember like past experiences? Because a lot of people do.
Mainly dreams. And I would have dreams that I was an adult as a kid. And my mom was always like, that's not normal to dream that you're an adult as a kid. So I kind of wondered, like, was I remembering? I don't know. But I remember one time, and distinctly, I was in 3rd grade. I was sitting in my desk, and all of a sudden I got this wave of existential angst like I'd never had before. And I just started having these like images flying into my head of other people's lives. And I stood, and I already knew, like, why am I in this desk in this box of a room and I have to sit here for 8 fucking hours? But it just hit me all at once. I ran to my teacher's desk, and I was just like having a panic attack pretty much. And she just was like, what's wrong? And I just thought, you won't understand.
Yeah, I was going to say, how the hell do you explain that to someone? Because they're like, oh, and they're calling your mom, your son, like, he's batshit nuts. You got to come and pick him up.
Well, I just went back to my desk and made myself calm down, and I kind of did that for years. But did you see that Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie?
Yes.
So you remember the end? He's in the psych ward and he's laughing his ass off, and the lady's just looking at him. She's like, what's so funny? I thought of a joke. Well, you want to share it with me? And he just kind of looks at her. He's like, you wouldn't get it.
Right.
When I saw that movie, it reminded me of that moment in elementary school where I just couldn't tell her. You can't put that shit into words as a 3rd grader, especially.
Well, and it's so fascinating to me because I have this conversation with people all the time. That is an empathic thing that happened to you. And some people, like the people have heard me talk about it before, but everybody that's empathic has very different like levels of that and very different like abilities and things that they're able to see or do, um which is so unique, and everything's unique to whatever specific traits are to you. Like me, like I can feel other people's energy, not just like in a crowd or whatever, but I can feel not even being near somebody if they're sick, if I'm really connected to them, and I'll like, call them up and go, okay, what, your Crohn's flaring up, because I feel it. And I like physically feel their symptoms and stuff. And so, also like paranormal experiences where I can pick up ghosts sometime, or spirits, or, whatever. So, some people get like angel messages or, like angel number stuff all the time. I don't ever see numbers. I don't get numbers, but some people, like their visions are always numbers, which are always a message too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad my messages aren't numbers because I don't like numbers.
Yeah, and me neither. I'm like, I'm not. That's why I'm not blessed with that, because I'm not a math person.
Well, when I was at the height of my psychedelic use, I just kept understanding that this, whatever reality is, it's based on number systems. And it kind of made me sad that I didn't pay attention to math in high school. I cheated my way through it because I wanted to do English and history and that kind of shit.
Right.
And
yeah.
I was just lamenting one time, and this voice said to me, you see past the numbers. You don't need to understand why they're there. So it was just kind of like an affirmation for me, like, okay, that's not the way you see the world. There are people that do see the world like that.
Right.
We need all types. So
that's 100%. And that is so true. And like, even like in the truther community, if you want to call it that, there's so many people that get so angry at other like podcasters or whatever, because you don't do the same thing or think about the same things or believe the same things or whatever. It's because we are all on a very different knowledge plane. And some people have very deep knowledge. Some people have very like surface basic understanding of things. And some people have that really deep, connection to knowledge. And it's hard for people to understand that. So.
Yeah, and it's something that turns me off, not only in the conspiracy crowd, but everywhere. It's just like,
yep.
Well, if you don't look at it the way I do, you're fucking wrong, and we need to banish you. It's like, well, hey, I thought this was about like being banished, and we all came together over in this spot. Now we're banishing each other.
Yes, and I've had that happen to me twice, and I don't have a problem with that, because both places that removed me, is completely fine, because I was only meant to be there a short time.
Yeah.
It's just like people, people are put in your life or on your path for, a specific amount of time that you're not aware of. And so people come and go all the time, and that's just fine. They come, they serve their purpose, they go.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that. I'm still here.
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, who doesn't want to still be here? And if you don't still want to be here, move to Canada, because they'll fix you right up.
They'll make you kill yourself. They'll at least try to talk you into it.
But you know what that is? And I was thinking about this today, because we were having a deep discussion about, fixing CO2 emissions and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've told people this before. We are carbon life form. Anything that's living is a carbon life form. So how better to fix CO2 emissions, wink, wink, than through assisted suicide?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have food? Oh, would you like us to kill you? Because we can do that. Oh, you need a stair lift in your house? I mean, the stories I'm hearing coming out of there, I'm like, why the hell would anyone want to live in Canada now.
Well, we covered that one on disinformation, the military woman who needed a lift.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, well, you need help getting up the stairs. Have you ever just considered killing yourself? We could help with that.
Exactly.
And then like a retarded deaf guy several months back was offed, and he did, his family was pissed because they kind of like looked after him, and it's crazy. Sorry,
It's
Davey.
and like I said, the food bank thing, there's a lady that runs the local food bank, and she's like, people were coming in here, for assistance or whatever, and the government like stepped in and was like, oh, if people are coming for food, offer them assisted suicide. And I'm like, did I miss something? Did I miss the boat somewhere? I mean, I wasn't born yesterday, but obviously I don't. Yeah, there's an agenda behind that, and it's not a nice one.
Did you see this New York Times reporter? This woman who was talking about why it should be okay to be short and have skinny kids, and she was talking about how she doesn't feed her kids very much because the smaller they are, the less of a carbon footprint they're going to have. This is New York.
Wow. Hey, I am fun size. I'm like a Snickers fun size candy bar. So my carbon emission must be a lot smaller than a lot of people. So there you go.
You're going to get into climate heaven, Janet.
Woohoo. I've always wanted climate heaven.
So I definitely want to talk about the sleep paralysis, but
yes,
there was something else too. Oh, it was your chemtrail story. So I don't know which one you want to cover.
Yeah, let me tell you about the chemtrail thing before I get retarded and forget. So one of the questions my husband likes to ask all the time, because today was like, holy fuck, there was like 20 at a time in the sky.
Are they doing like crisscrosses and shit?
Yes, and so we were talking about that, and we're like, where do these things take off from? Because we have a couple of airports that are not terribly far. We also have a naval base that's close, but they're it's like where their planes and stuff are. And so we were talking about like where do they take off from, and what is the schedule? Because like that many in the sky at one time, and some of them are like almost like running into each other because there were so many like over our area. And so he's got all these questions. So we're out running around today, and we're on our way home, and we went by this small airport. And I was like, well, I think I just got the answer to your question. And it was a whole runway full of drones.
Whoa.
And I was like, well, that solved
shit?
That solved the mystery of who the hell is spraying. And we are in a very red area. Yeah, and our little bitty municipal airport, little local Peter Pan airport. Yeah, it was just full of drones. And I'm like, the fuck? So that answered that question. Yeah. So anyways, because you know how for a while they were saying that it's contrails from planes.
Yeah.
Well, if you stand out in our yard, we have some that go straight up like a rocket. And then we have a lot of them that go straight down. And so if it's a plane, then the plane is in free fall and it's going to crash because the aircraft don't fly that way. Sorry. And so I was like, they have to be drones, especially like flying that close to each other. And sure as shit, that's exactly what we found.
How long do you think they've been using that type of chemtrail technology?
That is a good question. All I know is since Biden took office, it has grown exponentially because we have a lot of farmland around here. And so it literally looked like someone just took a paintbrush and was beep, 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 up and down and sideways and crossways. And yeah, I was like, wow, there is like not 1 inch of sky today that wasn't tainted.
That's horrible.
And of course they do it, and then a day later it storms like a motherfucker. Yeah. All the time. Never fails. So, anyway. That's my update on what's been spraying the skies in our area anyway. Okay, so sleep paralysis.
Oh, okay. So I think I just kind of brushed on my lack of wanting to sleep as a little kid.
Mhm.
Kind of got better as I got into high school and started liking girls and like had distractions and all that stuff from the
Active
thoughts that
mind.
yeah. So I played football in high school, and my freshman year, it was my first day of practice where in the summer, the 2-a-days, the daily doubles, you go in the morning,
Oh,
you go
yeah.
at night, and you just kind of weed out the weaklings.
Mhm.
So I came home from the first practice on my first day as a high school football player, and I took a nap. And I woke up face down on my bed. My body was not awake at all, and my mind was like, what the fuck? And I couldn't breathe.
Mhm.
My heart started racing, and I in my head I was like, is this like delayed paralysis from a hit earlier on the football field? Like I remember
Is
thinking
my
that,
tongue hanging out?
yeah, I'm
Ugh.
fucking paralyzed. I fucked myself up. And then this happened at the very end of it. My body started trembling at a very high vibration, and I woke up. So that was the first time it happened. Maybe it happened when I was younger and I don't remember it, but that was the first time I do remember it happening, and it took years before it happened again.
Mhm.
And it would always be that way, to where I'd wake up, and it's not like your eyes are open, but you can almost see in 360 degrees.
Mhm.
And it's hard to explain that to nobody who's ever experienced it. But
Right. Yeah.
And as I got older and I started getting into like science fiction and conspiracy theory and more paranormal stuff, I started reading other accounts of it, and I was like, oh fuck, it's not just me.
You're like, thank God.
Yeah, other people are having this happen to them. And I graduated high school. I started smoking marijuana. I started listening to bands like Tool. I started reading some real esoteric works, and the sleep paralysis came back heavy. I was going to college in Phoenix, Arizona, and one day I'd fallen asleep on my couch, but when I woke up, I was hovering on the other end of the room above a speaker that was next to my TV. And I didn't know what was going on. And I had that 360 vision, and I saw myself asleep on the fucking couch.
Yipes.
And was like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be. As soon as I realized that, I was back on my body still asleep. I'm awake, but the trembling was so bad. I was convinced I was having a seizure or something.
That's so weird.
I woke up fine. And then, people always describe these shadow creatures.
Yes.
That started happening years later. And at that point, I wasn't scared of it anymore. Now, and it still happens from time to time. I've lived in this house here for 2 years. I've probably had a couple dozen experiences. And I try to play with it now. I see how far I can go into it without waking up. And some weird shit happens. Like the first time I did this, I was in my ex-girlfriend's house. I had just been doing some mushrooms a couple days before, so I think I was more open to it. I stayed awake, and I didn't try to fight it. And that vibrating started happening, that shaking of my body, and I suddenly just rose right above my chest, and it just started spinning.
Oh,
just woo, 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 and it sped up, and it went so fast that everything just disappeared for a second. But when it came back, there was nobody in that bed below me, and I kind of just hovered down the hallway. And in my ex-girlfriend's dad's living room, they were sitting there watching TV, but it was not them. It was like them, but slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy who had gray hair since he was like in his 30s, and it was almost white by the time I met him. His hair was jet black, and his daughter, my ex, who was usually blonde, she was like kind of an auburn colored hair, and they were watching TV, and it looked like Oprah kind of style show, but it wasn't Oprah. And I just kind of floated behind them. And then I floated in front of them, and they were staring directly through me watching the TV. They had no idea I was there. And then I kind of just woke up after that. And that's probably around 2006 that happened. And that's my most profound experiences I've ever had with sleep paralysis. I've tried to get back there.
Chills like up my spine. I was like sitting there thinking, oh my God, that's like a whole alternate universe kind of thing going on there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Did that fuck with your head?
At that time, I was so wide open to all these experiences that it just actually kind of was a confirmation for me. Because the second time I ever smoked DMT, I was sitting on a riverbank. And this is going to blow your mind further if that just did. So I don't know if you've heard much.
I need to fasten my seatbelt.
Have you heard much about DMT?
Well, I've heard people with different accounts of things that happen to them. So, and most of the time, people are under supervision.
Oh, I would not be able to do it in that case. The first time I smoked DMT, I shot out of my body like a rocket. I saw the death, birth, recreation of the universe as if I was creator watching shit in fast speed. That was insane. But this other time, ever since I had that first one, and I don't do psychedelics anymore. I mean, I will. I just they don't call me like they used to. So anyway, the second time, I always, and I've done it several times since that first time, I've never been able to just go for it and have that. It's like, oh, I saw that once. I don't know. So it's like I don't need it.
Right.
But that second time, I almost got shot out of my body. Instead, I just left my body. And I kind of looked in both directions. And it was like an infinite row of me going that way. And in the other direction, same thing. So the closer that the me was to the me that I was, they're doing similar things. But the further out you look, they're like doing slightly different things. One of them might be standing up. You go down far enough, one of them might be like walking into the water. One of them's like walking backwards. And I just understood, like, okay, every moment has an infinite possibilities of outcomes, and those all exist.
Right.
But free will to me is you deciding which one you are.
Right. Your
and
choice.
That's choice. So that happened. And then that same ex-girlfriend, she was sitting behind me with a couple other friends. And I was suddenly her. Watching me have this fucking crazy experience, and I was having her thoughts. It wasn't even weird. It was just like, wow, he looks like he's pretty far out there. I hope he's doing okay. And then like the drugs started to wear off, and I realized, oh fuck, I'm in the wrong body. Like, how the fuck did I get here? And then I freaked out, and when I like came to my own body, I was just like thrashing around like, holy shit.
You're like, oh my God, thank God it's me. Let me look in the mirror.
Yeah, I've never had anything like that happen before or since, and it was crazy.
It would kind of be a freaky experience to experience that, because it made me think of what's it called? Freaky Friday.
Yeah,
like Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis like switch bodies or whatever, and now all of a sudden the mom's in the daughter's body and like going for a ride on the motorcycle with the daughter's boyfriend. That's with that.
Yeah, you know what though? The one with Jodie Foster and Jessica Lange is way better.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that for sure because I never saw the new one.
Yeah, it's just that kind of experience. Do you think it's like an astral travel?
That's exactly what I think it is. And I'll tell you something else about that. When I was doing psychedelics, I never had a positive experience on LSD. The one time that I was like So I loved mushrooms a lot. Like, I felt like I was in a field full of infinite possibility, and the universe was my oyster.
Mm-hmm.
When I did
That's
acid,
actually a message, by the way, for people that are listening. Yeah.
when I did acid, I almost felt like I was inside of a filing cabinet, and there's people watching me. And when I learned about MK Ultra several years later and the shit they were doing with acid, I was like, holy fuck! I think they did see me. Like, I think that they can find you in that other realm. I think the CIA and other 3-letter agencies has people that their entire job is to just fucking zone out, meditate, maybe do psychedelic drugs, and they find people like me.
Yeah.
And that scared the shit out of me. But after I did study like the MK Ultra experiments and all that stuff, and the shit they were doing with LSD and like the Montauk Project and shit, I was convinced, like, oh my God, that reality, I tapped into it. And I don't know if I should have, but I did.
Well, and that's what makes me wonder, because your experiences are so unique. Because most people don't, it's like they just see like trippy colors, or like, the forest is talking to them, like the trees and the grass, and like everything talks or whatever. But yours are so unique, and I've heard people talk before about like being able to astral project or whatever. I don't have that ability, like at all. I mean, at all. I don't ever recall a time where I left my body.
Do you remember your dreams?
Sometimes, and when I do, it's usually a message type thing. Like, and I love God, but sometimes I don't understand things because it's always about a snake. I hate snakes. I am freaking not a fan of snakes. Let's just say that. We have a lot of snakes around here. I can't stand snakes. And so snakes are always in my dreams. Or like I call them downloads. People that have never experienced this are going to think I'm nuts. But like I get like message downloads from God, and I know it's from God. And so I was doing a show. Have you talked to Ghost yet?
No, I know very well who he is. I've never.
Okay. So Ghost and I were doing a show one night, and we were talking about snakes, and I'm like, oh my God, I hate snakes. Like, we have so many around here and I can't stand it. And we have like tons of different kinds and whatever. And I'm like, I despise snakes so bad. And so we get done recording, and I go outside to sit in the chair that I always sit in. Then there's a snake under my chair. And I was like, oh Lord, thank God it was a baby one. But there was a fly swatter on the table next to me. So I grabbed the fly swatter, and I'm like, just trying to push it out from under my chair so I could
You got
sit
your
down.
like legs tucked up to your chest.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't like them. So I'm like trying to scoot this with the fly swatter, so it would go. So it starts flipping around and stuff, and it gets its head stuck underneath our garden hose. And so, the body's like thrashing around and its head is stuck. And I keep getting this message, Janet, that's my creation too. Save that snake. And I'm like, I don't want to. And it's like, Janet, save that snake. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't like snakes. And it was like, you have to go pick up that hose and let that snake out. Okay, God, I'm going to go let the snake out. And I pull up the hose, and the snake like scurries away. But it's always something about snakes. Always.
That's interesting. Have you like tried to break that down with like mythology or anything?
Here's the thing about snakes. Like, yes, they can be deemed as evil creatures, but snakes are also a sign of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I that is why snakes are always present in my dream, because it's always like messages of something I'm supposed to do, or somebody I'm supposed to contact, or something. And so like randomly, like people I haven't talked to in years will be in this dream with a snake. And so it's like my message that I'm supposed to get a hold of them. I don't know. It's weird. Funny joke.
It's your spirit animal, but you're fighting it.
Oh my God. Talk about spirit animals. I did a show not too long ago with Ellie, One Thumb L from Speed Bumps. And so she has this device that like reads your energy, tells you where you're deficient at, whatever. And so she's going through the readings on this, and then like it gives you like puts tones together that you're supposed to listen to. And I went outside after we got done, and I started playing these 4 different, musical tones that she sent me. And the ceiling of my carport just filled with bees. There were bees literally everywhere. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I'm like, I took a video and I sent her around. I'm like, it looks like there's a hive in here, but I kid you not, there's no hive. I'm like, we had a white ceiling, and I'm like, you could just see all these hundreds of bees that just like drew to me after playing these. And I'm like, whoa. So then I started looking up the bee as a spirit animal, and I'm like, okay. And now I'm freaked out.
At least you didn't summon snakes.
Ew, hell no. I hate them so bad. Like we were sitting outside. My husband and I were sitting outside one time because I love to spend time outside. And I'm like, what the hell is that thing on the driveway? And I'm like, I'm going to go look because I couldn't tell what it was. And I'm like, oh, mother of hell, it's a baby rattlesnake.
Oh, and they're the worst too because they don't know how to control their venom.
Yes. And so I didn't know it at the time until I got up close to it. And of course, it rears its head up and its tail's going. And I'm like, holy crap, honey, there's a rattlesnake. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's a rattlesnake. And so he's over there close to it, like trying to film it and whatever. And I'm like, back away, Janet. Back away slowly. It's going to bite one of you. It's not going to be me. Just kidding. I don't want my husband to get attacked by a rattlesnake either.
You know that if he had the choice, though, it would be him.
Yeah, well, I know. 100%, yeah.
But then I was like, to suck the poison out.
Okay. I would do it. Yeah.
You don't. This is one instance where you don't swallow. You got to spit that shit out.
Ladies, a little piece of advice for you when you're listening to disinfobation. Oh, what?
No, exactly.
And don't eat asparagus beforehand. Anyway.
Yeah. Load up on the pineapples.
Exactly. So, what was your like paranormal experience?
With the ghost?
Yes.
So when I was 2, my mom and my dad had just split up, and they were living in this house that, and where I'm from in northeastern Oregon, the town, it's called Halfway. It's tiny. Halfway. Yeah. Oh, well, the story is there was 2 mining settlements, and they put a post office and a little grocery store between the 2 of them, and they called it Halfway. And then that became the town, and the mining settlements fizzled out, and the town grew into a farming community. And that's where most of my family still is. It's awesome. It's in the Hells Canyon area in northeastern Oregon, right next to Idaho, right under Washington. It's beautiful.
So are there a lot of crazy people in that area?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, just as much as any other mountain town. But anyway, it's the kind of town where everybody knows everybody. Mm-hmm. And I started having conversations. I think I talked pretty early. I was the oldest, and my mom would hear me talking, and she noticed like this isn't just like a baby babbling. He's saying something and pausing.
Right.
So he's having a conversation. So she would come in and say, who are you talking to? And she said I would look past her and say, my friend, he's right behind you. You don't see him? And my mom, like I said, she's very open-minded. And so she asked, what's he look like? And my description was, he's bald, he has a beard, and he wears Oshkosh. You remember Oshkosh?
Mm-hmm. That was a big deal. Oshkosh bibs. Yes, baby.
Yeah. So to me, that's what suspenders were, or overalls. So my mom went and asked her mom, hey, what does Homer Chastain look like? Because that was the guy that lived in that house, died in that house before us.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom said, well, or my grandma said, well, he was always, he's kind of a dirty dude. He was always like unkempt, always wear that same pair of overalls, had a beard, he was bald. And my mom's like, I think Colby is talking to him.
Yeah.
And so also she was newly single. Her mom was the daycare in the town. So she would watch my brother and I for free, just throw us in with the rest of the babysitting kids when my mom was working. She'd get home late at night. She'd be carrying groceries, and my little brother, I'd be walking next to her. And she said that the light was always on in the entrance that went past the cellar into the kitchen. And it was a chain pull to turn the light on, but it was broken, and she always had to get on a chair and turn the light off. But that fucker was on every time she got home. So she never felt like this was a threatening ghost. And my dad, also kind of a skeptical minded person, he really believed it too. And so it kind of just was something I always knew about from my earliest memory, was that I talked to a ghost, even though I don't remember doing it.
Well, and see, I had that discussion with somebody too, because we were talking about like, quote unquote, imaginary friends or childhood friends that, aren't there. People can't see them. But everybody that I know that I've talked to that had like that imaginary friend or whatever is also empathic. So, and what do spirits usually do? They usually go to the very young, right? Because you still have that open mind. You're not closed-minded when you're a little kid. And so that's why like little kids are able to see spirits and talk to spirits and things like that, is because they are still open to things.
So the imaginary friend is the parent's explanation to that situation.
Yes. Because I remember very well having an imaginary friend.
Do you remember yours?
Oh, absolutely.
How old were you?
Well, we moved in that house when I was 6. And so from 6 until, I don't know, probably about 12.
Okay, so you had the gift pretty late.
Yep. And I mean, it may have happened before that, but the house that we lived in, it was a girl, and her name was Katie. And, like she communicated with me literally all the time, and
she was always nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there are some, like Elle and Ghost did a episode together, and they were using, a meter that would pick up, because they were recording and you could see like shapes and stuff behind them, and like, smoke and weird stuff and whatever. And so she goes, I got to send you this episode. She's like, you got to watch this. And so I'm watching the episode, and I had to keep stopping the episode and taking a break, because I could hear like all of these people that were like trying to communicate with this. I don't remember what it's called. Some kind of meter that they use when they go ghost hunting.
Is it the thing they use in Ghostbusters?
Probably not that.
I just think of Harold Ramis walking around.
Like if you see the, ghost hunting shows or whatever on TV.
I know Cosmic Peach. Julia's really into those things.
Yeah. And so, it took me, I don't know how many hours to get through this episode. And I got hold of her, and I'm like, I am getting this person's name.
So do some people watch this and hear nothing?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So it can actually be recorded and reach you that way. That's fascinating.
It was like a ton of people like talking over each other. It was almost like being in a really crowded room or whatever, but I heard one person's like full name, and I'm like, they kept saying, died horribly, bad childhood, parents were preachers, whatever. And this is all stuff that like is coming through to me. And I'm like, okay, I got to look this person up. And I'm like, Elle, you're not going to believe this, but here's the message I just got. Google these articles. And it was like the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I don't get that all the time because I don't always let that in. But like I've had, patients that passed away or whatever that talked to me. My sister, after she passed away, like I could hear her constantly. Or we had this thing like, you remember it's an alien brain sucker stuck in your brains. Oh my God, it's starving to death. Blah, blah, blah. And she always used to do that to me. And so like I would be sitting there after I got home from work at night or whatever, and I'd feel that boop, boop, like massaging the top of my head with the alien brain sucker thing. And it was like, or I'd always smell like lilacs and stuff because lilacs were her favorite. And like things would be poked off of a table or, whatever, like something knocked over or whatever when there was no one near it. And so, yeah, I have those experiences every once in a while.
Wow. That's crazy that you still have that.
Yeah. Yep. So very, it's a blessing and a curse. Same thing with like the really deep empathic abilities because like if someone is going through a really difficult time and I'm super connected with them, I feel all of their stress, their chest pain, the whole 9 yards, like everything. And my husband knows better now, but like if we'll be watching a movie or something or a commercial even, and I will just start bawling for no apparent reason. And he's like, you okay? You cleansing again? And I'm like, yes, I got to get it out. It's just other people's emotions I'm trying to get out of my body.
Yeah. So art to me, I used to cry all the time when I was a little kid, and I was told not to. So psychologically, I tried not to cry now.
Right.
And
it's actually a good thing because it's a cleanser.
I know. Like when I do, it's just like a release. Oh, it's like orgasmic. And it takes a lot now, but I'll sit dry-eyed through a family member's funeral. But if I hear a certain song on the radio, it's waterworks.
Yes. It's because you got to get those, release those emotions. And
yeah, because death doesn't make me sad. Like when someone dies, I don't get sad.
Same. Yeah.
It's like I get at funerals, I get sad for the people at the funeral, not the person in the coffin.
Yes. Same thing. But it's because, again, you're feeling other people's stuff, which I know you do. Yeah. And so, like I said, sometimes it's a good thing to have that kind of, like I have really good spidey senses about stuff that has like saved us from danger like several times. So that's good. I was just telling our friends today, I was like, we were downtown at a like local concert one time where all the people that we knew and bands were performing at this. And it was so crowded and it got so hot. And so we went outside to sit on the curb and have a beer. And all of a sudden the hair on the back of my neck stood up and I'm like, we need to go now. Something really bad is getting ready to happen. He trusts my instinct. So we started walking to the parking garage and damned if there wasn't a shooting.
Whoa.
And like everybody was like running for their lives and
Holy
whatever.
Shit.
Yeah. So that's happened a couple times now where I'm just like, yeah. So grateful. But sometimes it's a little overwhelming.
And it seems like sometimes people get that and they just tell themselves, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah. No, I always trust my gut. Like if, I'm like, and it's usually getting ready to tell me something bad's happening or getting ready to happen. And so I'm very,
but do you experience on the other end, like, oh, something really good's going to happen? Do you get that?
yes, like if people are having like a difficult time, and like sometimes, I know it sounds weird to people that like don't believe or whatever, but like a lot of people will call me and say, "Will you pray for me? This is what's going on." And so I get so deep. Sometimes it's almost like I'm in a trance when I'm praying. And like my hands get really hot and I feel like tons of energy like coming through me or whatever. And so like I was on the phone with somebody the other day that was telling me about stuff that was going on, and we were praying. I was praying for her. And all of a sudden my hands got super duper hot. And then like my fingers started like tingling, and it felt like electricity was shooting out the ends of my fingers. And I was like, hold on a minute. I'm getting a message. I'm like, just bear with me a minute. And I'm like, okay, well, your situation is getting ready to be resolved. Everything is going to be fine. I just got reassurance that everything's going to resolve. So usually not for me. It's usually for other people.
Yeah.
Which is good. But, I know people are going to be like, that's really weird. And you're on crack, and I'm not going to listen anymore.
No, your audience is loyal. I know it. What episode? This is episode 133. Oh shit.
Yeah.
133. Yeah. Wow. I'm honored.
Mm-hmm.
You're about 100 ahead of us.
Not to be confused with 33rd degree Masons or anything like that, because we are not. Yes, I'm not anyway.
I'm having Micah Dink on my podcast. What do you think? See, I heard him on Davey Wavy just recently.
Yeah. He's written a lot of books. Mm-hmm. He just did a children's series. He's got some interesting information.
Yeah. Well, that's
so I hope you enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to hear every angle, and
yes.
I've had weird exchanges with him on Twitter, and I always think that he forgets who I am because he's constantly pitched his show to me.
Yes.
And so astrology, as a Christian, what do you think of astrology?
I can honestly tell you that I have a problem with that particular thing because I believe in the Bible. And I believe God's creation is God's creation. And that things are the way they are because God made them to be so. So that being said, yeah, some of it's really hard for me to swallow just because of my belief.
Right. I feel that way about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't had any guests that have really challenged me. Mm-hmm. And so while I resisted him in the past, I'm kind of like at this point, like, let's have Jeremiah be here for that episode.
Yeah.
I want to see the numbers guy and that guy have a conversation about this what does he call it? Astrotheology or something like that?
Yes. And here's my thing, and I always have to wonder this because like every quote sign, right? Zodiac sign has, a certain characteristics, certain traits, whatever. Like me, I'm a Scorpio to a T, but I have to wonder if that's a zodiac or that's my morals, because I am the way I am because of everything that I've been through in life. And so I am very loyal. I'm very I will cut you off at the kneecaps if you like screw me over. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, exes are exes and they stay exes for a reason type thing. And I'm just very staunch in my beliefs and stuff. That's why I'm wondering, like, for me, is the zodiac even a thing?
Right. And it's more of those, the why and the numbers and all that. But to get back to something like empath to empath here, I think that I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the way to word this the best.
Oh, just say it. Just word vomit it at me.
Well, astrology to me
Mhm.
is another way of trying to make sense of like the world and creation and all that
Yes.
stuff. I'm pretty close with someone. We were romantically kind of crossed paths that year and a half ago. We've recently reconnected, and it's kind of just friends right now. But
Right.
she asked me for my, the thing where what time were you born? What were and like,
Right.
you get your birth chart, and then she showed
Mhm.
me the thing like this is the sky. This is what the sky was like when you were born. And I'm
That's
kind of
if you
sarcastic.
Yeah.
So I said,
Same.
"Oh, that's exactly how I remember it."
Mhm.
But to me, there is so much at play here
Right.
with who we are, who we could become.
Mhm.
And I think more of it has to do with circumstances. I do think that, like, yeah, you come into this world and you're a parent, so you would know this better than me, but
Mhm.
there is a set personality at birth.
Oh,
Then
100%.
there's also a way that personality that is set could be molded and guided and what words you
Right.
want to use as parents'
Mhm.
influence or outside
Right.
influences. So yeah, to me, it's just like, also, I don't believe in outer space.
I don't either.
So
Yeah.
astrology is like,
It
it's
is
just another.
It is a hard sell for me, because, and that's why, I said because of my belief. So my belief in God, plus the fact that I don't believe in space whatsoever. And to me, that brand of thinking, and this may offend some people, which is fine. Believe as you wish. I'm not telling you what to believe, but that brand of quote theology, you're worshiping that. You're worshiping the zodiac as your god. I am just not into that. Yeah. So it was it's a lot for me. Yeah.
So what do you think of Saturn? What do you think that represents?
What do I think of Saturn? That is a very, very deep subject, which we may have to do a part 2 on that, because I think that is definitely dark arts. I think that is, like all these celebrities that have the Saturn worship and Saturnalia and Saturn Day and all this other, yeah, to me, I think it's a portal to hell. That's exactly what I think.
So I had the pleasure of having NY Patriot on.
I love him. He's my
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
He's my bestie.
I might have heard. Oh, I don't remember if I heard him through you or Dusty first. It was around the same time.
Mhm.
But he was on our podcast a few episodes back, and I'm glad my co-host was here for that interview, because when I asked him about Saturn,
Mhm.
he mentioned the same thing you did.
Mhm.
And then he mentioned like this experience we're having, and my co-host said, "So what do you think this is then?" And he is convinced that this is hell, that we are in hell right now,
Mhm.
and that Saturn is the key to that.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've heard that, but the way he said it, it was like the last 5 minutes of the episode too. It was just like, shit, I wish we had more time to dive into this. He
Right.
had to go to dinner or lunch with his dad at that point, and I was just like, oh shit, we're gonna have to have you come back on, talk about
Yeah.
that.
He is such a wealth of information on anything occult related and whatever, but him and I have talked about that before, with like even okay, with the black cube of Saturn, right? All of your screens are black. Your TV screen is black, your phone screen is black, your computer screen, like everything is a cube and fake light and the whole 9 yards. And
What about that ritual when George Floyd died and Instagram told you to put up the black square?
right, 100%. And this is like their the elitist belief system, right? And then you had like Adele that disappeared for a while, and then she came back, and she's wearing like black Saturn earrings and
She doesn't even look like the same person either.
Yeah, no. And so to me, like I said, with it being a portal to hell, because think about this. Okay, people are watching TV and they're watching the news and fear-based propaganda mongering crap. Okay, and so you're feeding negative emotions right back into that screen, right? And so you're letting like tons of shit into your soul, into your world, by the emotions that you have when you're staring into a black cube. I don't know.
It's like an offering of some sort,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or people that like we've talked about this too before, like mirrors.
Yeah.
Right? And mirrors or other forms of portals or whatnot. And so how many people do you know that that say, I'm going to wish this into existence, or I'm going to will it into existence? And so that's another very scary like belief thing for me, because when you wish something like that so much, yes, you're asking a demon or Satan or whatever you want to call it, hi baby. It's like, hello, I'm here. But you're like making a deal. You're bargaining. If I get this thing that I want, you promise you'll give it to me, but then something else in your life has to die or be sacrificed for you to be able to get what you're willing into existence.
Your little blood sacrifice.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, I'm not into that kind of thing. And a lot of people are like that. They'll like put a wish board up, and I'm going to have this house and I'm going to have this or that.
Oh, like a vision.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And for me, like whatever I get is what God provides for me. Like, I don't want for anything. I don't need like a big house. I don't need a fancy car. I don't need or desire any of that stuff, because everything I have right now already makes me happy.
Yeah, it's this new age, and people don't call it a religion, but the new age movement is a religion. And
yes, it is.
They've taken a lot of the older stuff from like ancient religions and then mixed it with capitalism in a way that's like,
and it's very scary.
The Secret.
Yes.
The guy that made What the Bleep Do We Know? He was one of the Nexium cult leaders that didn't take a fall. But yeah, you just mentioned two things that made me think of this predictive programming. So you got your black cube and your mirror. Black Mirror, the show.
Right.
Every single fucking episode is telling us what's coming. I mean, half of them have come true already.
Right.
It's insane. And I love watching it. But
and same thing with X-Files. Somebody sent me a clip on that the other day where they were actually talking about, this DNA altering quote virus, and whatever, and how rapidly it was, replicating and killing people, and the shot that they have for it and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's some shit. And that was like a long time ago.
Did you watch X-Files?
Sometimes.
Do you remember the lone gunman? Those three nerds. One of them was dad's was like in the CIA. The other guy looked like Garth from Wayne's World, and they like lived in their basement, and Mulder would come talk to him to get like the dig on certain things. So they had a spin-off show, and stop me if you've heard this. It was called The Lone Gunman. It premiered in like March of 2001, and the fucking pilot episode is about flying an airplane into the World Trade Center.
Oh,
That's the pilot episode, just like half a year before that happened. They actually stop it in the show, but
yeah, imagine that. How interesting that happens in our world, right?
Some people are just really good guessers, Janet.
Yeah, I know. Well, The Simpsons, batting 1,000. Yeah.
Well, Matt Groening likes those foot massages. He's not in the club, is he? Yeah, I wonder
I
who's
hate
on that
feet.
writing staff.
Feet are so gross to me. I cannot even have someone touch my feet. Like one time, like a friend was like, let's go and get pedicures. And I'd never had one before. And I'm like, oh, holy moly. And I'm like I'm like jumping out of the chair and squirming. And I'm like, oh yeah, you can't stand this. And yeah, no, nope. I don't do feet. Used to work for a doctor that would, like this guy would come in and he had like massive like corns on his feet or whatever, and the doctor would shave them with a razor and just let them fly all over the room, and I'm in there going,
what?
Now I can do blood and guts and poop and all of that stuff, but the shavings,
that's where Parmesan cheese comes from, right?
Oh,
yeah,
so
we're covering
funny.
it all tonight. Foot cheese and fucking meat nets.
Oh my god, it's so funny you said Parmesan cheese, because every once in a while we'll watch like America's Got Talent, just random, I don't know, random stuff. We don't watch it on a regular basis, but we turned it on one night and this guy was he literally made up a song about Parmesan cheese.
Just on the spot?
Yes, it was fantastic, and it was all about needing more Parmesan cheese, and the guy at the restaurant doesn't want to, do the grinder anymore. Yeah.
Nice.
But there is also Fermunda cheese, which could get entangled in the meat nuts, so everyone be careful.
You don't want to mix your biscuits down there. Yeah.
We're disturbing.
Hey, you know what? If I didn't know Dusty yet, I would have been like, oh yeah. But Dusty and I, we go everywhere in a way that sometimes we get done recording and I'm like, I don't know if I wouldn't even want to put that up. I always do. We have a very small audience for a reason.
But I love that, because I think there's so many people that are so just no sense of humor or ungodly serious all the time, and I'm like, there's a lot of people in the podcast community that have like their persona on their podcast,
right,
and then their persona in their private life. I am literally the same way all the time. I am just a fucking weirdo, and I love it. And I'm just going to be me. I'm going to say whatever comes into my mind and just enjoy who I am.
Well, you and I both know who I'm talking about probably, but there are certain bigger podcasts on the scene where the facade slips, because when you're putting out 3 fucking episodes a week and you're saying certain things and then you're trying to be super spiritual and tell everybody that the law of abundance is what you thrive on, then when you let that mask slide, because it's hard to keep track of the lies after fucking putting out so much content. So yeah, I think the best approach, and I'm not saying that that disinformation person is me. That's the most fucked up part of me. I let all this fucking anger build up through the week when I watch news and then Dusty and I turn the cameras on and it's just like, blah! It's a purge. It's an outlet.
I love that though. And it's just, it's cathartic, right? It's almost like a therapy session where you just get to be yourself.
Yeah. Because Davey always points out the heavy metal singers are always the most mellow dudes.
Yes. But, and that's the, what always chuckles me is that people in the past have, they come on my show and they clam up. And I'm like, why? And they're like, you're intimidating. And I'm like, me?
What? This is the safest space I've ever been on.
I'm like literally, yeah, like I would not harm a fly. No, I wouldn't. And I'm just me all the time, and I'm always going to be real. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just want to hang out with people, and I don't know. Like I'd
I
come to
do,
your house right now if I lived closer.
of course. And, maybe I'll be in Tennessee someday. You were intimidating to me for 3 seconds when you came on my show, because I had like star shock, like, oh, this is Deplorable Janet.
Wait,
I've been
our
listening
star's
to her.
real. You can't have star
Well,
shock.
you're a star in my eyes.
Oh,
But
look
stars
at
are on
that.
stars are on the ground, not in the sky. So anyway, I just was like, or this is somebody that like shaped my goal to be a podcaster, and
What?
I'd listen. Oh yeah, like there's like 3 people I could name in the podcast community that were like, you can be fucked up like me and have a podcast, and people
Right?
will listen to it.
Yeah.
And then there's people who pretend to be that way, and then there's people who
Yeah.
pretend to not be that way. I mean, but I always knew you were genuine.
Oh,
From the No
yeah.
Mercy days, it was just you were the reason I kept listening to that show.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah,
That kind of makes me happy because yeah, that was what it was. And I had fun while I was doing it. But that is what it makes me feel weird because, and I've told this story a couple times, but like the listeners crowdfunded for me to go to DC. And so I'm in DC, and I had a friend make me a Deplorable Janet sweatshirt or whatever. And I'm walking in the crowd of millions of people, and I hear, holy fuck, like the Deplorable Janet. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if there's another, but yes, that would be me. And they're like, oh my God, like I need a picture with you. This is so cool. You're like famous. And I'm like, what? And they're like, I'm going to go over here now. And it like creeped me out, right? That like somebody knew. And then it was like tons of people were like, oh my God, like I saw you on so-and-so show. I've heard you on this. And I'm like, it's mind-blowing. It's weird and kind of uncomfortable.
I mean, I have not experienced that, so I have no idea.
I'm a very humble person, and so like that kind of stuff, like caught me off guard, and I'm just like, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for listening, but geez, it's weird.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, just that's the thing about celebrity worship in general is just the people that like that are the ones who will eat kids to keep that status. And
I
the
don't
ones
eat
who don't,
children. Yeah. I don't eat children, and I won't sacrifice mine either. So there you go.
well, that's good to know.
Yeah, I love my kids. They're amazing.
So you have more than one. I've heard you talk about a daughter before.
Yeah, we have 2. I have a stepson, and they're both like super phenomenal. They're amazing adults.
Well,
Yeah,
with the
they're-
parents that
they're
they got,
both
how could they
adults.
not be?
My daughter is very embarrassed of me a lot of times because she will ask me to do things with her. Like, she asked me to take her to the Vans Warp Tour one year. And so we go and we have these, seats or whatever. And I'm like standing up, like dancing, acting all a fool and whatever. And she's like, oh my God, will you sit down? It's so embarrassing. And I was like, no, you wanted me to come, so you're going to experience the way mom is. Like, I don't know. I
You're
dance.
describing my mom and my younger brother. Exactly.
Yeah, like I dance in the grocery store and stuff. If like a song comes on I like or whatever, like I'll get down in the grocery store. And she's like, oh my God, Mom, I'm going to wait in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just always fun, though. I like to keep life fun and lighthearted because everything is so serious, and I'm not. So I'm like a childish grandmother. How about that?
Perfect.
Oh, my dear. It was an honor and a blessing having you on. I just love you so much. You're so fun and easy to talk to. So kudos to you, my dear. Kudos for keeping it real.
I love you too, Janet. You're, being on your show, having you on my show. It's like a milestone for me. Not to get to that, starstruck shit again, but you are one of the OGs. I saw you early on, and I see where you're at now, and you're an original. And
I appreciate that. I'm an original something, all right.
Yeah,
there's not another like me. Make a list of all the words. Yeah. So tell people, where can they find you at, my dear?
Well, Conspiracy Playtime's kind of in limbo right now. Janet, I told you when you were on my show that if you got taken down, you would be one of two with Davey Wavy. But since then, we've had 2 episodes removed. We're on the point where we get one more and our YouTube's gone. So you can find us at conspiracyplaytime.com, which is not current because we link to the YouTubes. Our videos are embedded there. I have spent the last 76 hours trying to move all of our shit to Rumble. And I'll let everybody know when that happens. But for Twitter, I'm conspiracy_play because I also just got erased from Twitter. I am no longer
welcome to the Twitter club.
Yeah, you're like 6 ahead of me, so I don't feel too special. I do feel like Elon Musk erasing me for saying the word cunt is kind of a red flag everybody should pay attention to.
He would not like me because I had an Australian friend of mine that came on the show a lot that would always go, "You cunt." And I was like, that's one of my favorite things now because the way he said
it. It's violent, Janet. Yeah. In Australia, they use cunt like we use dude.
Yeah, like a happy greeting for people. Yeah. But in the United States, if you call somebody that, they might punch you in the face. Yeah.
Yep. So Disinfobation and Conspiracy Playtime are both on Rumble now, and we're also on all of the audio platforms. Anywhere you look for us, we'll pop up.
Fantastic. So how was it uploading your stuff to Rumble? I don't have a video home right now, so I'm contemplating what I want to do.
I find it's very easy. The thing about Rumble, and I found this out, Disinfobation got kicked off YouTube like in week 3 when we talked about Hillary fisting Donald Trump and Bill Clinton at the same time. Somehow that got us removed. And
imagine that.
It was just, it was a natural flowing conversation. Somehow ended up in that scenario.
Well, I don't understand why they kicked you off for fisting, because isn't that, part of your sexuality now, according to the new curriculum?
I identify as the fist. Yes. Well, so, I would say that it's, other than YouTube, it is the most user-friendly video platform that I've interacted with. I've tried Odyssey, and I would say out of the 2 of them, Rumble's the easiest. The thing is you're going to get the majority of the people on there seem to be like the MAGA crowd. But since so many people are getting kicked off YouTube now for conspiracy talk, Rumble is becoming more of like the second YouTube option, in my opinion. And they did merge with Locals that Dave Rubin started, and it's kind of getting a new scene going on over there too. So I would recommend trying it.
Did you say Locals?
Do you know about it?
No, it sounds like a dating site.
It does, doesn't it? No, Locals is Dave Rubin. Do you know who he is? So it's his like social media platform, and I see a lot of journalists, they either go to Substack or Locals or both. And then Locals merged with Rumble. So I don't know if they're gonna like blow up into something
that's kind of funny. Locals Rumble.
And you throw Grindr
Find
in there,
your partner here.
Yeah.
Bring your meat net.
Bring your meat net and plenty of probiotics.
What a perfect way to end the show.
Don't forget to take your vitamins, kids.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying.
All right, Janet. Love you. Seriously. I look forward to talking to you next time. Dusty and I are going to reach out to you about coming on Disinfobation. I think you would make a great
fantastic. Yeah, that would be so much fun.
I think Chris from Rantcast is next, and after that, we'll do a couple without a guest, and I'll reach out to you.
Fabulous. So, for me and for the lovely Colby, we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Make sure you go and like, subscribe, share, comment, download their show, and don't forget to do it on mine or I will poke you in the pooper. Anyway, love you all very much and we'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
If it